welcome back to the channel, and you join me after making another purchase from a subscriber, no less. Lovely car, I'm not gonna lie. I've used this over the weekend. I've done a good few miles in it, and I have to say I like it. They can be a bit marmitey, these cars. Why? We'll discuss that as we go along, but I didn't get what the crack was with them, but now I've used it, I kind of get it. So we'll have you flipped round, we'll have a look, see what I've bought, and we'll just discuss as we go along as to how I came about it and what my plans are to do with it. And this is it. This is my new to me Jaguar X-Type. It's a 2007 2-litre diesel, and what a lovely car. It has caught me by surprise, I'm not gonna lie. When I was offered this car, I was like, man, yeah. When I came to look at it, I was like, all right, yep, nice clean example. And obviously it had half a tank of diesel in it, so it'd be rude not to use it, wouldn't it? So I've used it over the weekend, and I've got to say I am impressed. It is comfortable, it's got plenty of power. It was actually really surprising how economical it was as well on that diesel. And even the road tax isn't outrageous for an old diesel car. Now, the reason why these cars tend to be a bit marmitey is for one reason only, mainly because they share a platform with the Ford Mondeo. So people buy them, and you hear people say like, it's just a Mondeo. Saying that like the Mondeo of this era was a bad car. It really wasn't. If I'm being honest with you, Mondeos were a really good car, especially like the my experience is more of the like this sort of generation of Mondeo, like 06 back over, and then the newer ones. But no, they were really good cars, quite dependable. The issue with these can be the diesel engines. For a Jaguar, they're not very refined. They can be a bit old school in terms of how they sound and things like that. They don't have DPFs or anything like that, which is lovely. But they can be a little bit unrefined, a bit like an old school diesel. So that's kind of where the diesel ones, they kind of leave people with a sour taste in the mouth. Common for flywheels go. They can be quite what you would call diesel knocky. You get faults with the injectors and they just sound awful. I've known them where they've had that issue. People have just ran them for ages, not an issue, but they just make a racket and you can hear them coming from a mile away. So that just kind of puts people off. I think that's more the 2.2 possibly that has that. Could be this one as well, I ain't too sure. But overall, for the age of the car, really nice. Yeah, a little bit of rust starting to come in there and there. Again, that old saying I use, we're not going to criticise an old car too much for that. Around the back, parking sensors, somebody's had a detachable tow bar fitted at the cost of well over £400, if I'm being honest with you as well. And again, round the back, really nice car. There's a very slight scuff on this corner here, and then somebody's tried to do a touch in there. They've started sanding it back and they just haven't finished it off, so I'm going to see whether I can bring that back and how good that turns out. But again, a little bit of rust there and a little bit of rust there. Wheels are nice and tidy. You can maybe criticise maybe the tyres are a bit too big of a size, but again, they don't catch, they don't rub, they don't make a noise. And I've just noticed as well the Devantes, which are a fairly decent budget brand, if I'm being honest with you. So this car's got loads of paperwork with it, and as well if I've left the boot, if I've left it open, which I imagine I have. It came with a box full of goodies. Now this is an old part. We've got disc and pads all round and handbrake cables. But the main thing about these Brembos. Yeah, there's a wheel bearing as well. You know, I haven't really heard of wheel bearing. So there's one there if it needs it. A couple of handbrake cables. Nothing too scary. There's even a caliper, which that's a finger. I dare say I might need, because I do think it just needs a bit of attention. You can kind of feel there's something not right somewhere in an armrest, which just needs reattaching. But other than that, like, somebody obviously is cared for this car. I mean, like, they've gone Brembo discs, Brembo front pads, and then they've gone national rear brake pads. Maybe they just didn't have them in stock in the Brembo variety. But yeah, who knows? So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a quick wash off, because I have got it a bit manky using it, you know, as you do. And then I'm going to tackle them bits of polishing, because Lot 76 cars commented on my last weekly video when he saw the 2 running how well it beaded. He wanted to know what products I use for polishing and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the products I use and the process I do for polishing cars. Then I don't know whether you can make this out that well or not, because it is a very fine scratch. You can see it's all just lightly scratched above here. There is a couple of bits here and here that will probably want touching in. If I can try and catch it in the right light, you can sort of see. You can see it better in person where the scratch is. But what we're going to do is I'll get all my stuff out. I'll show you what I use and how I go about doing it. Right then, so in terms of what I use for polishing is all laid out here in and around me. In terms of polisher, I don't use a rotary polisher. I use one of these. This is just a Halford unit. It was one that was reasonably priced. I would say I think this one, off the top of my head, was about £130 when I bought it. Could you get cheaper? Yes. But I had plenty of experience with using cheap polishers, and they just didn't cut the mustard. Really, it's to do with the head and how it works with you and things like that. It has got, don't know how well you can see there, but it has got an adjustable speed on it, which is an important way of how I do it. Now, in terms of the heads I used on the 2 I use some of these. I do have, oh, well, that's right here. This is a cutting head. You can tell because it's hard. And then this is a polishing head. You can tell because it's a bit softer. So the softer the pad, the less it's for cutting. So you have here quite a firm head. So that's for cutting. You get 3 in the pack. Don't know where the other one is. You get cutting, polishing, and then you get one for wax. But I am going to be using some new heads, because as you can tell by looking at them, they're not very good. These Halford pads are good. In terms of longevity, not so much. So I'm going to give these a try. These ones were, again, fairly priced off the Jungle website. But as you can see, this is the heavy. You get more options in this. You get heavy cut, medium cut, low cut, polish, and a finish, which is essentially like a waxing one. But as you can see, that there, don't know how well you can hear that, is quite firm. And then we go right to the end and get the finishing pad. Again, that there is quite soft and pliable. They are a lot firmer than them. So I'm giving these a try. They have got these like little cuts in them. What that does, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know. They'll probably advertise it as, like hyper cut technology, extreme finish technology, or some absolute rubbish like that. But for this one, because it's not bad, I'll maybe try with a more gentler cutting pad, and then give it a cut. What I use for cutting compound is this, just G3 Premium cutting compound. A lot of people use it. It is pretty much the go-to, really. Cheap, not so much, but it is good. That is an abrasive cutting compound as well. There are other options out there. I do have if I just grab it, I have this one as well, this Maguire's one. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll be honest, I've used this a few times. This is more just getting a bit of colour back into it and not tackling like scratches. Like maybe as if you had very fine scratches off, say like if you took it to the local car wash a good few times and they've attacked them with hard bristle brushes and you got swirls in them, you could maybe use it more for that. And in terms of car polish, people did comment how good of a finish it was in terms of the beading. I just use triple wax. That is it. If I'm being honest, this is a good polish. Cheap. I think I got that from Asda. How much? Can't remember. I have had it a while. Yeah. So what I can say about it is it's not fancy. Those fancier ones, I do have some auto gleam, super resin polish. But I haven't opened it yet because I've just still been using that. So I'll tackle it, see how well it comes up. I'll be honest with you, looking at it, majority of it is going to come out. There's a scratch up here as well, which I'll try and get you in for to see if I can get that out as well, because it is in the lacquer, so I'm hoping it should come out. But what is, we'll do this bottom half, and then I'll bring you in closer so you can actually get a proper look at the process. Right then, one of the key things for polishing is taking care of your pad. Now, as I said, Halfords ones, great pads in terms of keeping them maintained and things like that. Not so much, they don't have a lot of longevity, but they are very cheap pads for what they are. So, one mistake people always tend to make is absolutely lathering the pad with cutting compound. That is all you need. Yeah? 4 pea-size bits of cutting compound, and that is it. So, what I'm going to start off with is I've got it set on speed 2. Now, another thing people always do, especially when they're lathering on, they go full speed, chuck it on, splatters absolutely everywhere, gets them covered, gets the car covered, and just gets everywhere covered. Why? It's just wasting compound, There's a cost of living crisis at the end of the day. This is a product that you're investing in just so you can make more money. So the more you spend on it, the less you make. Simple maths, isn't it? So, pad on. Some people will dab, we'll put it on like that. Like that. Now, normally what I would do is I would just keep on going, flip the speed up. What you want to do is to flip the speed up to 4, and do it like that. Another thing that is quite important for looking after your pads is you don't want, say, like when you're polishing, you can see clumps appear. That isn't good because it's just making more work for you. So now, if I turn the pad up to the polish up to 4, I will then tackle it even more. And there. So now we get a microfiber, which you should have one right here. And then just give it a wipe. And there, that is fairly a decent outcome. And that is what you consider one pass. So one pass, what I would do is I'd go along and then I'd do that over the full panel and then up and down like that. This one is a little bit tricky because, as you can see, you've got trim, you've got a curve, you've got a curve, you've got more trim. So it is a little bit more awkward for that. In terms of this one, when I do this, you can break bigger panels like this down into sections. So what you would do is you have a little line in your head and you'll break it down. But because I don't think this section of the panel really needs it, so I'll use just this natural body line and I'll polish this part and then we'll do it and see how that comes out. Alright then, so as I said before, I'll try and see if I can get this on camera. Obviously make sure you shake your bottle up beforehand. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn it down to a low speed, and what you're wanting, I'll try and do this while talking to you, just dab it on, just get a little bit of it spread around. And then once you turn it on, what you're wanting to see is you want to see this head turning all the time. Like that, so you can see there the head is constantly moving. It's not so much on this one because this is just spreading the compound. So as you could probably make out, there is a very fine scratch. So that's what I'm trying to tackle and trying to get out. Hopefully it's very straightforward. So again, you'll notice now, once I turn the speed up, the head will spin a lot more. another thing as well, as you've just seen there, when I stopped it, I didn't turn the machine off, lift it off while it's still spinning, because this is obviously Velcro. So the speed can rip these off sometimes and knock the Velcro, but also it stops your compound from going absolutely everywhere. Now, in terms of caring for your pad, what you realistically need to do is you need to just get a blowgun like this. And you blow the compound out. Stops it from getting clumped up. I will note as well, I do have terrible air pressure here. It's just the way of my compressor is. It's just a small one. So you can see that it's a bit cleaner. You can obviously see where I have put the compound, but there's nothing there. You know. Also, never put them down so the pad is on the floor, because that's how you pick up dirt. And the same thing for your microfibers. Obviously, these microfibers, maybe it's not the best ones in the world anymore. They are a bit old and a bit well used. And the main thing is heat. You don't want too much heat getting into your pad, because that can knock them up as well. Putting too much pressure on gets them going like this. So the edge of your machine ends up cutting into the pad. And why that is simply because the Velcro has, as you can see there, over time the Velcro part of them wears away. So I've had to use this incorrectly, shall we say, and I've had to put too much pressure on. But there, that looks really nice. The scratch is still there, just about. I know you're probably thinking there's nothing there. But if you cut there, you see it? It looks a lot worse in person. So now, what I would do, using a lot less cutting compound, I'm going to focus more on this little area here. You can see how this panel's got a nice shine to it now. And one thing as well you can do, brush your hand across it. Make sure your hand's clean. Brush your hand across it. And does it feel smooth? I'll try and... Do you hear that? I hope that's come across well. It's hard to tell because I do have very rough hands, so I hope that's come across well. But you can just feel smooth, a bit rough. So now what I'll do is I will focus more on this little scratch, obviously using less compound. So I'll just put 2 small dabs on, set it back to the low speed. And there, that scratch has now practically disappeared. You have to get it in the light and get very close to it to actually see it. I'll be honest, I could potentially go a bit further in terms of giving it a polish or giving it a cut, shall I say. But I'm very happy with how that has turned out. Now, in terms of the polishing pad, which I believe to be this one, what I'll use is I'll actually use the finishing pad, because I think personally that polishing pad might be just a touch too tough. Yeah. Make sure you give it a shake, because it can separate. And you can't, with polish, especially this polish, it is quite thin. So just dab a bit on and spread that around the whole panel. Now I know I haven't cut this one, but it's not going to do it any harm. And remember, low speed. And then just bring the speed back up. And then wipe. As easy as that. And there's one reference I like to use as well, because sometimes, see there, not polished, quite grippy. And then if I stand it on there, just slip straight off. And you're probably thinking, well, what difference is that going to make? This is quite a lot steeper. So if I set that on there, look, I'm actually having to physically move it. So that's a good sign that needs some attention. Whereas that there just slips straight off. So as I'll get you out of the stand and I will show you how the finished product actually looks. And there we go. Can't even see that scratch now. And oh, did you my knee there? Knackered I am. And there's the bottom half of the panel. And that was the panel with the scuff on. Now, just as a reference, see how well this comes out. The panel I have polished. The panel I have not. See how it's less reflective. And that is how it is done. Or at least how I do it anyway. I always have good results. Right then, so I hope you did find this video informative, shall we say. obviously you got to see my latest purchase. I am quite happy with it, very happy with it indeed. Obviously, depending on what the garage says once they've checked it over, but I think this car for 1495 is a bargain. What the retail is on it, I do not know, because there is a few options out there to compare it against. Uh, could I ask for more for it? You know, there is a potential of squeezing more out of it. I know this potentially could be a 1995 car if you wanted to be cheeky, but would it be a quick sale? I do not know. I would much rather put them on for just a bit less, get them sold quicker, especially in these current times I am experiencing with sales being a bit slower. It's more about turning them around, getting them done, getting them sorted, and getting them gone. Uh, but what do you think? I think this car for what I have paid for £650 is a good deal. Uh, Obviously, comes with a lot of parts as well. So, does it need disc and pads? Possibly. There's a caliper there. There's cables there if they're needed. I don't think it actually might need the cables. If I'm being completely truthful, I think what there is there's just a caliper. Just one of the caliper arms isn't doing caliper arm things. So, I mean, I've had a quick look underneath it in terms of getting down on the floor. The sills have been done on it. It looks like it's had new suspension arms on the back. There's no major oil leaks or anything like that. The clutch is lovely. The drive of it is lovely. If I'm being honest with you, I could see me keeping it. um, I would like to. I would like to because I've really enjoyed it. Really have. Uh, but can't keep them, unfortunately. Uh, when you're in the business of selling cars, keeping cars isn't really viable. Plus, I do have a tendency to abuse my cars. I'm not going to lie to you. The Dacia, for instance. And then even then, I only got that for YouTube content, and now that's sticking around. I've also got a van sat on my driveway that I've been spending way too much money on, which is supposed to be what I use. Uh, so do I have the time and the space for this? No, but you never know. If somebody doesn't come and buy it, I'm not going to be overly sad about it. Company car, definitely. But I do hope you like this content. A little bit different. I'm giving you a bit of a tutorial. I hope I haven't waffled on too much, but I do have a tendency to do so. You know what to do next. All the usual stuff. All the links for my socials will be down below in the description. You can find me on Instagram under Foster's Car Sales. You can find me on Facebook under the same name. And you can check out my website, which will be in the description down below. Have a look. You never know. If you are interested in any of my cars, Facebook is how you get in touch with me. Drop me a message. A bit like what Gordon did. Saw my video and was like, I like that. Can I buy it? Come down. Even if you just want to have a chat and just talk about things, I am happy to do so. But don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. The car sales community. This is what we now go as. Same content, same guy, different name. It is just a name. Nothing is going to change too much as to what I do. But I would like to get to 2,000 subscribers by middle of the year, which scarily is in about 3 months' time. So if we can do that, great. If you're not subscribed, but you watch all my videos, please do hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps me out more than anything. Gets other people in. More you subscribe, more you like, the more at the end of every video they go, hey, fancy watching this? Quite simple. Anyway, as I said, I waffle on way too much sometimes. So I will catch you on the next one.